My name's Gavin Hunt. I'm the lead designer for the project. So it's the first Worms game that I've been the lead designer on. So kind of wanted to kind of give it my stamp, or So it's like all of the design team that are on the game are relatively new to the franchise.
Have you worked on Worms before?
Yeah, I've worked on Worms before, but I've never been given the responsibility of leading it and creating the main driving force for it. So it was kind of it's been very interesting, and we kind of tackled it from sort of two directions, which was we want to make this Worms game our Worms game. We don't want it to feel like it's just another Worms game that's been made by the same people over and over. We're new people to it. We want to make it feel new. And then the other thing was to address a lot of the issues that the community had with previous Worms games, and things that they weren't happy about, or things that they've always mentioned they felt were missing from the game, which is why we've got things like the clan wars. We have the clan system, so it's kind of like a guild in an MMO, so you can kind of create a clan or join a clan, and you have members can be promoted in the clan. So you have a leader, he has administration rights and privileges, and he can delegate other roles and things like that. So
it gives you something a bit more to do with the team.
Yes. And also clans take part in a sort of a season league system. So currently we're planning on it being once a month. The league resets, and you kind of play league matches, and you can get promoted or relegated throughout that season. And
is that organised within the system of the game?
It is, yes. So, because that was the thing we've found looking around, that it's there are sort of these kind of small websites and things that some of the fans have set up where they do these kind of league systems and stuff, and we were like, well, you shouldn't have to do that. If that's something you want, that's something we should try and provide for you. So we've tried to provide it for them, and so hopefully people will like it. And it's quite exciting. It's quite scary because it was like you sitting down and saying, yeah, we're going to put this clan system in, and we have leagues with promotions and relegations, and everyone was like, that's a great idea. And then it's like, how does that work? And so it's been quite a lot of work to sit down and go, what do people need to be able to do this? It's like, from a player's point of view, what tools do they need to be able to have a social sort of system like this? So we've introduced things like a thing called WormNet, which is from the old game. So it's like a social area where people can go, and it's divided into different channels. So it's like you've got a clan channel, so you can go in there and you can chat to people in your clan through the game and stuff.
It's a lot more connected.
Completely connected, to the point that we're even launching it with a web portal and companion apps that will track your stats and have all of your clan information on there, and it will allow clan leaders to write messages in the application, and then those messages get turned into newsletters that are sent to everybody in their clan in the game and stuff. So hopefully we're hoping that they will use it to arrange times to get together or times to meet up and play games and league matches and stuff like that. So because it's exclusive to PC, we're able to do things like have full Steam Workshop integration. So we're hoping the community will, make their own trinkets, make their own hats, potentially, make their own speech banks, and eventually, within a few months of launch, we're going to provide a level toolkit so they can make their own single-player content and missions and everything that they want, and then they'll be able to trade it between themselves, all free of charge and stuff. So.
And how similar would you say it is to the Worms games I would have played as a kid? I played Worms 1, I think Worms 2 when I was much younger.
At its base level, I think it's still very much the same game. It's still a turn-based, artillery game. It still has all the crazy things, the holy hand grenades, the super sheep, the things that you just can't mess around with. But I think we've obviously updated the way that it looks. I think it looks beautiful now, if I say so myself. We've added things like day-to-night cycles, real-time lighting. And I suppose some of the gameplay features that we've added things like dynamic water now in the environment. So you've got actual pools of water that can flow and splash about and stuff like that. They were added in the previous version of the game, but we've kind of increased and improved how good that system is now, so we can really take advantage of it. And I think people will be surprised how much the dynamic water plays a role in the game now. With the new weapons that we have.
So you blow a hole in a wall, water can come flooding.
Yeah, water can come flooding through. It can push worms about. It can drown worms. We have like physics objects as well, so they're objects that can bounce about the environment and stuff, and we kind of like have tried to take them to a new level as well. So we've added these things that we're calling contraptions to the game, and contraptions are things like moving platforms or hot air balloons that can float about and stuff, switches that open doors and things. So
you see people building like Rube Goldberg machines, physics contraptions within the game.
Eventually with the toolkit, I mean that's kind of very much what the single player game is that we've created ourselves, because that was, like I was saying earlier, it was one of the big things that, from my point of view, coming new to the game, it was like I wanted to put a bit of a put a bit of a twist on it, and it's like Worms is always thought of as a multiplayer game traditionally, and it's like, I thought that maybe part of the reason people didn't really interact with it single player wise is because single player has always been very similar to multiplayer, but on your own.
Yeah.
It's just against the
Just
AI.
more levels,
Yeah. So we've kind of tackled the single player as it's going to be a proper game. It's going to be a proper single player experience. It's going to be levels that you play through that are kind of tightly scripted and do have these machines. Do have puzzles where you've got to open doors and turn machines on, power machinery, have moving platforms, seesaws, all those kind of things. And there is actually a narrative and a story now that flows through the game. So it's it's narrated by Catherine Parkinson, which is Jen from the IT crowd, the girl from the IT crowd.
And she's done a healthy dose of British humour in there.
That is the plan. I mean, when we were looking around, it was like, well, practically the perfect person for it, because we had an idea in our mind of what we wanted for the character that it was, because we had an idea. Obviously the game is themed, so it's set in a museum, which is kind of the way that we've rationalised the different themes from the game, of like prehistoric and Incan and Viking and stuff. And it was like, well, we wanted them to have these themes, and we wanted to have a story and a narrative that flows through. So kind of sit down, it's like, how do those different themes fit together and it still be a story? And it's like, the first thought is, well, it's a time machine, but it's like we've done that before, and it's like, so this time it was like, it's set in a museum, and these are the exhibits in the museum, and it's almost a bit like Night at the Museum. It's almost like the exhibits kind of come to life. So it's like, it starts at the intro and you can see that it's an exhibit in a museum, and the camera kind of zooms in, and it's like, it's actually a little worms battlefield and stuff. So it's like the worms are kind of playing along these exhibits and stuff. And so because of the whole museum and exhibits thing, we have like a story to do with ancient artifacts and stuff. So we kind of wanted the character to narrate that was like a female archaeologist, sort of almost like a sort of Lara Croft style character, yeah. But she had to be very funny, and so it was like, well, we need a very funny British actress, and it's like, so Catherine Parkinson was kind of like, it's like, how can you not like her?
Yeah.
And she's done a genuinely amazing job on the game as well. So I think the way she's narrated it is like very, very funny. So really happy about it.
Okay, one last question.
Yep.
Roughly, how long do you expect before we get to play it? The public,
well, we're starting betas, which is closed beta, which people can apply for in the next couple of weeks, and then we're looking to release it in the third quarter of this year. We don't have an actual final date in place yet, because there's quite a lot of things that will need testing. The clan system will need stress testing, and it will need like finally balancing and tuning through the beta, so we can't give a definitive release date for it, but all I can say is it will definitely be this year.
Hopefully before Christmas.
Yeah, it will definitely be this year.